If you think the requirements for SNAP getting more difficult or SNAP getting cut off in the first place is funny or okay, you're a child abusing monster. Full stop.
It's funny, people are talking about robbing grocery stores because they're not getting their SNAP benefits. But if you're physically able to go rob a store, that means you're physically able to go get a job.
I am so sick of capitalism. We need socialism, and we need it now. That's actually a terrible idea, and people will starve. What are you talking about? People are already starving. People are going to be starving because the government's not providing the SNAP and EBT this month. Right, because whenever you depend upon the government to feed you, you also allow the government to starve you. No, you're not making any sense right now. We need to vote in socialism so that the government can take care of us. Right, yeah, and when the government fails to get their act together and feed the entire population, then the entire population will starve. But that's not gonna happen. It's literally happening right now, just on a smaller scale. No, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't see the issue whenever you champion for socialism, and then you're also mad when people who depend on the government to eat can't eat. You're not connecting the dots. No, you are just fascist. You're a fascist.
Malcolm X said the white liberal is the worst enemy to America and the worst enemy to the black man. The white liberal's purpose is to perpetuate a system that will keep the black man dependent on the white liberal. Because the truth is, you can't be dependent and free at the same time. And that's the part nobody wants to say out loud, because once they control the way you think and what you depend on, they don't need chains anymore. But for just a minute, step outside of it. I challenge you. Let's do a little thought exercise. Look at this critically, not emotionally. That's where real freedom starts. Because the more you're emotionally attached to your race, the easier it is to control you. It's realizing we've confused education with indoctrination. The idea that we're inferior and therefore we must receive. That's the last stage of colonization, people. The last chain left on our minds, the insistence that we're inferior. Shelby Seal said inferiority was established through white superiority, and that white guilt has infantilized Black America, and it's allowed white liberals to act as our caretakers rather than our equals. And the more we tell white people they need to give in order to be racist, the more we'll receive, and the more we'll depend, and the more we'll reinforce the same lie that we're inferior. And it'll never stop. Because dependency isn't progress, it's slavery dressed up as compassion. Because when you depend on the system, you can't be controlled by it. And control is the opposite of freedom. Because freedom is never the reward for moral innocence, it's the reward for moral responsibility, Shelby Steele. The more you rely on them for a check, the more you'll vote for that check. You'll vote for what they call empowerment and assistance. It's not about progress. It's not about excellence. It's about profit and power and your vote.
And this is why I am a conservative, guys. Welcome to the show, guys. This is Talks with Kenny. Socialism is slavery. That's been my biggest point ever. Socialism is a snake eating its own tail. Any socialist policies, in effect, you're making a Faustian bargain. You're trading what she say. What did the black lady in the said in the intro? You're sacrificing freedom for dependence, right? Because essentially that's what socialism is. You're becoming dependent on the government, right? When people say, I want free healthcare, no. You want government-controlled healthcare. All I have to do is look at London. And this is the funny part about all this stuff. This is why I'm liking this trend that I'm seeing amongst many young blacks. And Malcolm X been called this out for a long time. The political football, right? He had his problems with Republicans as well. But my argument is, and I'm more open about this as a Republican or as a conservative, is that my job is to show how our policies align with your interest, America, regardless of your demographics. And this EBT war that's been going on, you saw from the intro, imagine the entitlement of this lady. She's calling people who don't want people to abuse the EBT system as child abusing monster. But you're not the child abusing monster for not being in a position where you can feed them without being dependent on the government. Make it make sense. And this is the obfuscation of responsibility that I notice a lot about liberals. Nothing's ever their fault. And this is the incentive structure that the Democrats effectively has set, because this is some of the policy outcomes many people warn, such as Tom and Soul. And if you guys know on my channel, as my channel trailer, I put a video out outlining some reasons why I am a conservative. And one of the reasons why, and this is something I don't understand why black liberals, black Democrats can't quite understand, is that intentions doesn't matter, results matter, right? And when I saw the intentions of a policy, the intentions of war on poverty was to decrease poverty. But after the implementation of the so-called war on poverty in the 1960s, poverty increased in the black community. Why is that? Because EBT is one of the liberal, like welfare was one of the liberal policies that decades ago in the 1960s, Thomas Sowell, right? The guy, one of the people I look up to intellectually, Discriminations and Disparities. In his book, he outlines how in the 1960s, and I show debates about this all the time, where Thomas Sowell debated the woman from the Johnson administration that was pushing for welfare. And Thomas Sowell saw it in the 1960s while these policies were being implemented that it will increase dependency on the government. You're subsidizing and incentivizing certain behaviors. You're incentivizing people to put themselves in poverty and remain there and to be comfortable there. And what you get in return, Democrat, a solid, dependent base of voters that will always turn out for you. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of black men, such as myself, and this is something that black liberal women, yes, I'm calling you guys out specifically, don't seem to understand. That black men are noticing, you guys are very dependent on the government. The government is your daddy. These are the claims. Welfare queen. You when I said that word, you assumed a black woman for a reason. And this is kind of the things that justifies, or one of the things I see that there's a political misalignment between black men and black women. It seems like a lot of black women, especially those who vote liberal, have this idea that the government is almost like a backup plan just in case they can't take care of themselves, instead of looking to their family, their husband. And this is a problem in the black community. This is why you see a lot of the people in the black community, there's a war about the EBT. The working blacks are complaining about the EBT blacks. And because in my own personal life, my mom was working, busting her butt, doing 16-hour shifts to make sure she can feed me and my brothers. And then we be seeing the people in the EBT line, or not EBT line, just buying a whole bunch of garbage, and they wonder why they're fat. Like, make it make sense. I've never seen a person on EBT that's like very skinny. It's usually they're chunky, fat, because they overeat, they overspend. Sometimes they throw away food. Sometimes they sell their EBT card to other people. This is the kind of finagling that we've been seeing. I'm like, yo, what incentive are you instilling in society? And that's one of the things that I talk about with the government. It's not in the government's control. The government cannot fix healthcare, do all this stuff. They make it inefficient because the government is the only entity in the world that doesn't get punished for the bad decisions that it makes. It doesn't suffer no negative consequences for the bad decisions and bad policies they implement in society. And that's why we're relying on the government. That's why socialism never works. And I don't understand how much of a rant that we'll have to go into, but I digress. I want to point out this point, that something that I've been feeling lately. I talked about this before on my channel, that these government assistance, there needs to be some restrictions on it, more restrictions on it. I was in favor of a time base, like, hey, you got 4 years to figure it out, and then you no longer qualify for EBT, right? But in this clip I want to show you, a lady makes an interesting point, and I made this point before, that people who are on government assistance in any form should lose their right to vote as long as they're on the system. And I believe that's a fair and safe assumption. Why? Because the assistance, government assistance, if you're in a desperate situation, a politician shouldn't be able to benefit off of the desperation of an individual using government benefits. But I digress. Let's take a look at this clip.
The left is so funny. Workers who don't work, students who don't study, educators who don't educate, and politicians who cannot lead, so they buy votes instead. But somehow they figured it out. They create dependence and call it compassion. They create victims and call it justice. Create laziness and call it equality. And a bunch of dumb people fall for that. Yesterday I made a video about how crazy it is that more than 40 million people here in America are relying on food stamps to get their basic groceries. And then as I did more research, I found out that in Brazil, my home country, we have more than 94 million people receiving some sort of benefit from the government. That's almost half of the country. And this scares me, really, Because I know how things work in Brazil, and I know votes are completely bought. These people are going to vote for the ones who keep their checks coming in. And I feel like the same thing is happening now here in America. And now I'm going to say something that is controversial, but shouldn't be. I don't think these people should vote. Honestly, how can you vote freely when you're being bought? Welfare was supposed to be temporary help, but it's become a lifestyle. Worse than that, it's become a political strategy. And that is not compassion. That's control disguised as kindness.
Did you know that a grand total of 6 Democrats had to vote yes for you to have benefits? That's all it took. Every Republican voted yes for you to get your benefits. And the thing that pisses me off is, as someone that sits very sternly in the middle, it's getting harder and harder for me to even find any light on the left at all anymore. Because they legitimately don't care about the American people. And you can disagree. You're allowed to do that. But when you disagree, remember, there's not a Republican on record, on video, saying that they're using your suffering as leverage. Remember that. Remember that. We've got a Democrat, the number 2 speaking Democrat, number 2, mind you, saying that we're using your suffering as leverage. And some of you got the nerve to still sit here and blame Donald fucking Trump and Republicans. Are you okay? You know, Google, again, is free and for everyone. Oh, but I don't use Google. DuckDuckGo then, bitch. You're missing the point.
And that is the liberal left for you, right? Masking their control as compassion. White liberals pretending to be your caretaker. This is why they're so threatened by black men trending away from the Democratic Party. This stuff may work on certain individuals, like the Stephen A. Smiths of the world. It ain't gonna work on me because I've seen it firsthand. Sometimes I when people, this might be a controversial opinion, but sometimes I was happy that I grew up in the hood. I feel like that was an unfair advantage for me because I got to see firsthand the buffoonery that some of these people try to claim online, right? This is a lady called Liberal Jane. Apparently, she's a queer feminist. She says, you're not better than someone on welfare. You're just luckier. This is insulting. If you're a working American, you know how insulting this is. Oh, yeah, I'm lucky to pay healthcare costs to subsidize Medicare. Yeah. I'm very lucky for that. I'm very lucky that I had to nickel and dime and penny pinch and budget for how much money I'm going to spend for groceries with my children, while you get to be lucky and have the government subsidize that for you, where the cost doesn't come out of your pocket. It comes out of society's pocket. Yeah. We're very lucky to pay that, huh? Me going to work every day and paying for my own ish doesn't make me lucky. Yes, I'm lucky that I chose to not want to be the pet of the government. Yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm lucky I never had that mentality. I'm lucky I was never entitled to the wealth or the resources of other people. I'm very lucky I didn't have that mindset growing up. And this is what I'm talking about. Y'all want to cry about reparations, and in many regards, you can frame the welfare as reparations. Y'all been on this, disproportionately. Black people been on welfare. You're 30% of the population, but you represent 23% of welfare recipients. Yet you cast no blame on the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party can stop you all from possibly losing your EBTs today by just voting for the damn CR. That's going to save you. But as you saw from the intro, someone who claimed to be on the center highlighted it perfectly. And this is why Democrats are losing the narrative on this. I just did a video on it. I just talk about how progressivism might be the last straw to push many black voters into being independent. They don't give a chuck. Food benefits for poor run out Saturday, but them still won't open government because you're the leverage. You're the political pawn. Malcolm X warned you about the Democrats. Malcolm X warned you about the white liberal, right? But you know, you want to listen to Roland Martin, right? Y'all want to get mad at me for my criticism. Oh, vote like a black woman. I ain't voting out no damn black woman. I look like a woman to you? I vote like a man. Hey, government, get out of my way. Government, do nothing for me. That's the masculine imperative. That's courage. I'm a take care of my family. I don't need no government, no third party to take care of my family. I'm going to do it. Oh, if I have to sacrifice spending, oh, no Netflix, I'm going to have to cut out eating out. I'll do what I need to do to make sure that we have enough money for the groceries. I'll make sacrifices on my budget to make sure there's resources for groceries. But what about the government? They can feed you, they can starve you. And this is the kind of, and these are what the so-called black liberal women call empowering. Oh, I'm an independent woman until them SNAP benefits run out. And this is what we're talking about. Nothing destroyed the black family. Nothing destroyed family formations more than liberal policies, right? And I have a book here. Let me read a chapter because I had one ready about the poverty rate in the black community. The claim that only government programs can effectively deal with deep poverty was contradicted by the plain fact that black poverty rates declined from 87% in the 1940s to 47% in the 1960s. So when we were doing for ourselves, we dropped our poverty rate went down faster than when the government helped us. So here, check this out. When the Democrats came in and promised you welfare. Prior to the great expansion of the welfare state that began in the 1960s under the Johnson administrations, the guy that said, I'm going to have these black folks voting Democrat for 200 years. Yeah, that guy. There was a far more modest subsequent decline in the poverty rate amongst blacks after the Johnson administration's massive war on poverty program. As for ghetto riots, there was never as numerous nor such a magnitude of violence in the 1940s and the 1950s as they were in the 1960s. So when black people were managing themselves, right, when the black people was truly independent, when the black people was on their own without interference from the liberal policies, we were actually doing better. We would have, if we had stuck it out. This is my opinion. If a black America had just stuck it out and focused on our capital, the human capital, instead of worrying about political capital, I think we'd have been in a better position than we are today. But many people don't see it because they love the comfort. The liberals went from no kings to please, king. Socialism always sounded good until your fridge is empty. In a few days, SNAP will end and millions will find out what happens when you trust politicians to feed you. Does that sound like power? And as a black conservative, I talk about this in Black America. This is why I said Black America needs to be more independent.
My life has arguably gotten better since I became an independent. And that's honestly because I stopped stressing over the shit the Democratic Party told me to stress over. But now that I am a conservative independent, I have such a better view of this country, but I also have a better view on the things that need to get fixed to make this country even better. And God, honestly, the Democrats got to fucking go.
And I honestly believe that. I believe the path forward is for Black America to be more independent because it helps you see things clearly. Right? Democrats always like to lambast me in my personal life about how I drunk the Kool-Aid, I drunk the Trump Kool-Aid, I drunk the MAGA Kool-Aid and all this stuff. But it's a confession on their part. I always talk about this. Every Democrat's accusation is secretly a confession on their part. Because then I'm like, okay, what kind of Kool-Aid you're drinking? And I think this is one very simplified. If you reward victimhood, everyone is incentivized to become a victim. Liberals went from no king to king feed me in 1 week. Pretty wild. What Kool-Aid are you drinking? All empirical evidence shows that the government isn't the correct entity to manage healthcare for you, daycare for you, your food. They're not the proper man because of political interest, of what Chuck Schumer just did. He's using you as leverage, right? He's using your suffering as leverage. And this is why food stamps, hey, look, I told you 40 days, sorry, not 40 months. That would be a hell of a ride. But I already warned Democrats about this, right? I'm trying to lean into my independence because I'm a conservative independent, as the man you saw in the clip. And what I'm trying to highlight to the Democratic Party, right, because I'm American first, right, is that conservatives believe that the healthcare welfare system has incentivized behaviors, actions, and decisions throughout society systematically that have created dependency. And these people who are dependent on these welfare programs, Democrats use a political strategy where they incite fear on the population disproportionately represented in the welfare recipient program, Black women. That's just the facts. You 13% of the population, but you represent 23% of SNAP benefits. I'm just saying. Yes, majority of the people on SNAP are white Americans. So what? You're 30% of the population. You're overrepresented, while the white community is underrepresented technically, because they're 65% of the country, but only 44% of SNAP beneficiaries are white. So they're underrepresented, but you're overrepresented, but you're not calling SNAP racist. Okay. And this is what I'm talking about. There's a reason why there's a single mom pandemic in the Black community. There's a reason why when you think of single mom, you think of a Black woman, then a white woman. You don't think about Asian women though. I think they only make up like 9%. 9% of Asian families are headed by a single mom, I think. Complete opposite of the Black community. You want to complain about, oh, there's no Black wealth, all this and that. Black wealth only exists with families, man, woman. That's where generational wealth comes from. Generational wealth, it rarely comes from a single mother. I'm just saying, single moms statistically, no matter the demographics, are the poorest individuals in a country. This is why disproportionately of you guys are on welfare benefits. This is why Black people are disproportionately on welfare, because the Black community has the largest percentage of single mothers in our ranks. Decisions, actions have consequences. Decisions have consequences. And you're exactly where the Democrats want you to be. And as an American, I want, hey, if you're on SNAP benefits, if you're on any kind of government assistance program, you lose your right to vote because you're being used and abused by the Democratic Party. Something that Black Democrats, Black Americans in general, have been complaining about for decades. And you see why. Because the Democrats know they got you by the you know what. You talking about you want to get mad about Donald Trump grabbing y'all by the you know what? The Democrats got y'all by the you know what. Because y'all know y'all ain't going nowhere. They know you ain't going nowhere. All they got to do is fearmonger. Oh, look, Republicans are going to cut this and that. And you run into the voting booth to vote for Democrats. And Black men are seeing this and are saying, nah, you're controlled. But this is what happens when you have a population in your racial group that is majority single mom. And you wonder why the Black woman is the most loyal voting demographic for the Democratic Party, because in my estimation, they're the most controlled. The most controlled. We all see it. We all know it. I guess I'm just more frank enough to point it out. That you replace a husband for the government. And now the government is going to let you down. And you're playing right into the Republicans' hands because the Republicans have no political incentive to do anything. I already told you on the video. I warned you. What if it was me as a Black conservative, if I was in the same position as Mike Johnson, Thune, and President Trump, you already know my position. Run the bill again because it's not on us. We're voting. We're saying, yeah, let these people get their food benefits and all that stuff. So all you people on the EBTs, all these EBT people who disproportionately vote Democrat, you only have your party to blame because they're the ones using you as leverage. And Republicans are like, nah, we ain't gonna fold. We're not folding. And they shouldn't fold. The worst thing, hear me clearly, the worst thing Republicans can do is fold to the Democrats. Democrats are getting mad. Oh, why does Republicans don't understand that they just have to meet Democrats on the table? Meet Democrats on the table for what? We're not adding anything to the clean CR. It's a clean CR. Like, what negotiations are we having? Nothing. But these are the kind of tactics that these Democrats want to gaslight Black Americans to get behind. Y'all want to talk about Black power this, Black power that. You got no effing Black power. Your Black power is dependent on white liberals. And therefore, it's slavery. I talk about this. If you're a Black person and you wishing for slavery, socialism, you're wishing for slavery. Because in socialism's truest conclusion, it's slavery. You had socialism already. It was called slavery. It's one and the same. You can argue with me in the comment section, but every distinction, oh, you want a group of people to work for the benefit of society. Wasn't that slaves? Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comment section below. But I want to play this clip here because right now, this is, if you want to cause a rift in the black diaspora, talk about EBT versus working class people. You're gonna get an argument, and here's one of them. Here's a snippet of this.
Food stamps gone. Section 8 gone. All your SNAP and EBT benefits gone. Now you got to go back to Tyrone. Woo! I think this is great. We have just single-handedly saved the black family. Why? Because Tasha can't run out on Tyrone anytime she get mad and think the government going to take care of her. Tasha can't leave Tyrone and think that the kids going to eat. Tasha can't leave Tyrone.
And this is one of the things I always talk about, like, you know, with women, is that you guys have a choice of who you submit to. This strong independent stuff, it don't exist. I'm sorry. Even men, like, you never hear a man say that, right? Women, you never hear men say, "Oh, I'm independent." Men know we're we're dependent on each other. We're dependent on society to a degree. We contribute to society to a degree. Men never say they're strong and independent. Only women say that. Why? When in reality, you're not. We're all interdependent here. If you're working a job, you're dependent on a corporation's paycheck. But the corporation is also dependent on your labor. It's a trade. You're interdependent on each other. And this is why I laugh at socialists, is that they don't understand that concept. That we're human at the end of the day. All of us are human. The capitalists, socialists, we're human. We're dependent on labor. The labor's dependent on capital. Capitalism understand that intrinsically. Hey, win-win situation. Socialist slavery wants to force people to do the bidding for their ends. Oh, we want free daycare. We want people to watch other people's kids for free, and they should get paid or no benefit from this. Take time out of your day, your attention, your labor for free for the benefit of society. That's slavery, isn't it? Cut the crops for society so we can get free food. Work yourselves to the bone to pillage the fields and grow the crops so we can feed society based on our discretion. That don't sound like slavery? But this is the Faustian bargain, I believe, in the 1960s, Black America made. And you're seeing the consequences of that right now. And many young blacks who understand history, who knows that there's always been a segment of Black America that saw a different path forward. And I believe I represent that. The Booker T. Washingtons of the world. I represent that. Not Martin Luther King, right? Malcolm X to some degree, I agree with him. I'm not as racialist though. I'm more nationalist than he's racialist, right? But the criticisms are the same. You have to invest in human capital. You have to make the proper decisions to put you at the top. Because right now, Democrats have no political incentive to do anything to help Black America. But then you want to say that the Democrats are the lesser of two evils? All the evidence I just showed you, how they're leveraging political power and dependency on them to give you no outcomes that will allow you to have true power in this country. I see the Republicans as the only path to get that power. But you don't want to take it because it makes you uncomfortable. But you want to tolerate this. You lose EBTs, and then the party that could single-handedly save you and your family from stressing about food November 1st, they saying they're using you as leverage. But you calling conservatives the coon. Conservatives will never put themselves and their family in a situation where they're wholly dependent on someone else. A conservative will sell the car, make sacrifices, because that's that personal responsibility talking. This is why I said the true path to Black power is in personal responsibility, not Democrats' dependency. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section.
And think she's going to get a free rent. Tasha can't depend on the government because years ago, Black women turned their back on Black men for government assistance, for food stamps, for Section 8, for welfare, for WIC, for all the things that Black men bring into their household. They said, no, we don't need that. I'll go file to the government and they'll give it to me. Trump said, hell no. Woo! Now you're going to have to start choosing better. Woo! Now women are going to have babies with men that actually want to have babies with them. Woo! Now women are going to have to vet their partners and not be able to just hit them up for a check every time and think they can live off the government. Woo! This shit amazing.
And this is why there's a war there. This is why it's not in Black men's interest to continue voting Democrat. Because voting Democrat is further entrenching the Black family, the Black community, Black America, to continue being under the thumb of the Democratic Party. And the path to independence is to actually be an independent, voting for Republicans, where their policies help benefit us, to be self-sustaining, self-sufficient, right? And that's one of the biggest arguments why Black America needs to vote more Republican, more conservative, because voting Democrat is blatantly and culturally against our best interest. Woo! Because the Democratic policy, the welfare state, incentivized many people in the Black community to make poor decisions, poor choices. Tell me I'm lying. Show me the incentive, and I'll show you the outcome. That's the reality. Show me the incentive, and I'll show you the outcome. And Democratic policies incentivizes bad outcomes.
You're going to see more wives and less baby mamas. You're going to see more two-parent households because it's going to be a family unit, because success is a team sport. You're going to see women go back to their men, go back to their child's father and try to work things out and not childishly run out to the next nigga. Why? Because Donald Trump and the government don't got your back no more. Because you can't go over there and get free food stamps and sell them bitches 40 for the 80. Because you don't have a $72 rent anymore. Because now you're going to have to figure it out. And the only person that's left is that black man that you walked out on years ago. And the price of pussy going down too. Donald Trump did it with this one, and I'm here for it. Queens, go back to your kings and work it out. Baby mamas, go back to your baby daddies and become wives. It's time for us to work together. This is actually amazing. No longer will you be incentivized.
And then this incentive is not only affecting the Black community, I think it's America as a whole, right? Because this strong independent narrative that a lot of these feminists are bringing out, I think it's a paper tiger. I am woman, hear me roar. It's always been a very paper tigerish type of thing, right? I always saw it as, hey, that's ego talking, right? Men never say any of these things about women. Nowadays, because of red pill, but to me, the red pill has always been a reaction, a cultural reaction, a cultural response against feminism. Feminism started all this. Feminism started the gender war, right? And red pill is just a response to that. And I'll make the argument, if feminism was never a thing, red pill would never exist, because we'll have a moral, righteous society that shames behavior that's not conducive to civilization thriving. Feminism is not an ideology that brings people together. It's a sexist ideology that condemns and demonizes men as the root of all evil in the world. When you can find examples of women in power, who apparently more women started wars than men, but there's this narrative out there because of feminism. This is why feminism is losing ground. Because who started the gender hatred first? You can say that men maybe didn't treat their wives the best, but men didn't have it easy either. In the 1940s, 1930s, men were dying in wars. If you can go further back, a lot of the labor was physical, back-breaking work, back-breaking manufacturing work, working out in the farms. That was a necessity to be together. And we, as a society, based on pattern recognition, based on strategy, we're like, hey, it was more conducive if the woman stayed home with the children, raised the children, men out there on the fields doing what they needed to do. Survival. But now in modern times, that survival is not tinged on physical labor. Feminism put this toxic positivity messaging in women's head that they can do everything on their own, when life was always a team sport. And I honestly agree with that. Marriage is essentially your team. And what benefit it is to the team if you're only looking out for your interest. And this is why there's a lot of these that's why there's such a dating war right now. This is why young men don't want to date women right now. And conservative women, sometimes I think you guys missed the boat by trying to, appeal to morality and all this stuff on the men's part without doing the proper criticism on the women's part. And I think that's one of the missing pieces to actually fix the dating scene, because men been shamed, men been bashed over decades, right? When you look at all these dating shows, they're always bashing on how men needs to be better. But where's that for women? And that's where the red pill come in and fill that void, criticizing women, holding women accountable to some of the male standards that men expect from their wives. There's polls that come out that's showing that a lot of women don't value family at the same degree that men value family. And you wonder why there's such a dating disconnect. I'm always about solutions. I don't know the solution, but I know what's not the solution, only looking at men to fix the problem when you're missing the other 50% of the problem. And I think that's where conservative women, more right-leaning women need to focus on. But, I digress. Let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. I know this is going to be an interesting one. I know it's been all over the place, but really, the reality is this EBT stuff, this government benefit stuff, it all comes from the fracturing of community. And what's the basis? What's the core basis points of a community? Family, right? Because back then, if you were falling on hard times, you relied on your family to take care of you. But we lost that culturally. And I think that's one of the things conservatives are saying. Let's go back to ideas that work. That is the premise of conservatism. Let's go back to ideas that worked, not these new, modern, untested theories. And we see the results of these untested theories, the shattering of the family, the dependency on the government. And we're like, is this really a better path? Because the point of conservatism is to defend time-tested ideas that just work. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comments section below. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you feel so inclined. It really does help me on the algorithm, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.